right, you ready?
Ready?
All right, let's get going. Welcome everybody to our webinar Wednesday, where we're going to go a little bit in depth on backup disaster recovery versus business continuity. Let's see. All right, so just a little bit about NCI. So NCI, we were founded back in 1988. We have been assisting businesses and nonprofits for full service technology solutions for them. Over the past few decades, we've been helping many organizations successfully adapt and scale through the digital transformations, especially recently that we've been seeing through. We have a huge team, more than what's pictured right now on our screen, of experienced IT engineers and consultants. And our ultimate goal is to ensure that you guys worry about your core operation, and we want to make sure you get the most out of your technology investment. So we make sure that you don't get that technical jargon without understanding what's going on, and we won't leave you in the dust whenever there's something that's going on with your IT. So just a little bit about who I am. My name is Samantha Jacoma. I've been in the customer service account manager field for about 6 years now. This has given me the experience to work with my engineers and make sure that my clients are getting the attention and their needs are being handled. I recently just moved to Nashville from California, and in my short time with NCI, I have definitely made an impact to the family here. Well, at least that's what they're telling me, that I've made an impact. As the account manager, I do make sure that my clients are happy with our service because we pride ourselves on delivering excellent customer service. And I want to make sure that they don't worry about any technical issues that they have. And then I do have my special guest here, Charles. All right. Charles has been in the IT industry for over 30 years. He got his first computer back in 84, I believe it was, but has been with NCI since 1991. And throughout his time being here, he's been an Amazon Prime movie titled in Cybercrime. He is an international best-selling author of an MSSP playbook, and he is also pulled into our industry as a speaker. He is a huge spokesperson and has been speaking all across different states, different venues. So he's spoken here in the US, Dubai, and Canada, and he's also been on Channel Pro magazine. So help me welcome Charles Henson as my guest.
Thank you, Samantha.
You're welcome. So if you're ready, I'm ready to get into backup disaster and business continuity.
Let's do it.
All right. So first I want to talk about backup and disaster recovery. So backup is a process of copying and archiving your data to ensure that it can be recovered in event where there's data loss. So ransomware hacked, or there's a natural disaster like a tornado strikes and you need that data and information backed up. So what you're going to look for in backups is regular backups that are being completed. You want to verify that those backups are actually getting done. And then the location of backup. So is your backup on premise? Is it at a different location? Is it in the cloud? Where is your backup located? And in congruency to that is the disaster recovery. So disaster recovery is the process it takes to restore your data and your systems to operational status after an event does take place where there is a data loss. So that would consist of having a disaster recovery plan, how long it takes to recover, and then testing it to make sure that if that your data is recovered and it's supposed to be recovered the way how much you have it. All right. So the second side of that we have is the business continuity. So what business continuity, it ties into the backup and the disaster recovery, but what business continuity does is it reduces your downtime. So this allows us to get virtual machines from the cloud, and we're able to spin up a backup server for our clients to access your data. So your downtime does reduce significantly when you add the business continuity because your business needs to continue. So this is where your service comes in for the business continuity is your business is continuing and it does not have huge delays. So just to do an example of what we're talking about, right here we have your two servers, or you just have one server, but you have your physical servers. Those servers are being backed up to a physical device that could be on premises. We have some people that want to stop there, but we do not recommend that. We do recommend you backing up your physical device to the cloud. So that way you have two locations that your data is being stored on premises and in the cloud. So Charles, for an example, if let's just say like my servers went down, either I got hacked, ransomware, or they just died. How long is like the average time to recover my data and get me back up and running as a business?
Yeah, well, Samantha, let's think, going back, the way we used to back up systems was to tape backups or external hard drives. And some people still use an external hard drive to back up their systems. In that case, when your server does go down, what it's going to take is hours upon hours, and it could even be a couple of days before you can recover all of that data. So in business continuity, we back up to what we call a backup appliance, and that appliance can work as a server in the event that your physical server dies. So whether you have a physical server at your office, or if you have a cloud server that you remote into for your individuals, we would have a backup device that's sitting there in that, whether cloud or in your office. And when we go to recover your server, you say that your server went down, power supply went out, hard drives failed, whatever that may be, then we would virtualize on our appliance. And that appliance is going to take anywhere from 20 minutes up to an hour and a half to get that machine virtualized. It can take less than 20 minutes, but we like to let people know that it's going to take a little bit longer just in case things do go a little sideways or it takes a long time. The differences there is it depends on the amount of data that is actually on that server. But the virtualization can take as little as 20 minutes to get you back up and running, either in your cloud environment where you're always running or in your office environment. And typically we can get that virtualization done from our office. We don't have to come on site. So that saves us on travel time coming to your office to get started on this. We will typically dispatch an engineer on site, but someone is working behind the scenes to get that server virtualized and up and running.
Okay, so what if, so this will help if, let's say, my servers die, but then also my physical hardware dies. So it continues the business continuity. So
it does. So let's think about it like this. Your server can go offline because of an issue with the actual server, whether it's a physical damage to the server, somebody stole the server, maybe like I said, the power supply goes out, motherboard fried, whatever. We're waiting on parts from the vendor. If, however, you had a flood in your office, which we've dealt with clients in the past, a fire, which we've had to deal with as well, or somebody just came in and stole all the equipment out of your office, that means that your server and the backup appliance is no longer there. So we cannot virtualize from that device on those systems. What happens is throughout the day, we replicate the backups into the cloud environment. And with that, we're able to have access at two different locations across the United States that goes into two different data centers. And the reason we do that is so that if something should happen, let's say a tornado or a flood hit Nashville or the city that you're in, that your servers are in, it doesn't affect you accessing the cloud information. The recovery time is a little bit longer. It's not going to be 20 minutes. It's going to take more like an hour to 2 hours. And then once we get that established, then we have to create a VPN connection from a device. Now, whether that's a device that you have in your office, if your office is no longer there, then we have devices here that we keep ready for business continuity purposes. And so we can get a couple of machines up and running and connect those into the cloud environment and recover and have access to your data within the next couple of hours. And really, when you think about this from a business continuity standpoint, it's critical to have these systems in place so that you can continue doing business, because the backup and disaster recovery piece takes a lot longer than the business continuity piece. And that's where we're looking at and talking about today, is the differences in those two. So a lot of companies say that, it doesn't matter if I'm down for 2 or 3 days. Other businesses are like, I can't be down for 30 minutes. And it really depends on the business critical infrastructure that you're running, where your data is, what the most important data is, and what do we need access to right now. During the flood, we had a healthcare company that had their system, their building was underwater, but the systems themselves were safe. So we had to go in, we went with the fire department, went upstairs, collected the machines, waded through water, put them in the trunk of a car, went and set them up somewhere else, because there was a lot of prescriptions and daily medications that their patients needed, and they had no idea what those charts were without having access to that data. So again, it depends on the critical information that you have stored on your business servers, how critical it is to get it back up and going, and how swiftly you want to do that.
Got it. So it's really different depending on the business's need for that information, and if they can survive a couple days without it, or if no, this is something that they need as soon as possible.
Yes, and if a business thinks that they can do without their server for a couple of days, I would encourage them to go and unplug the power from their server and see if they can actually survive for 2 days without running and having access to that data. A lot of times,
Do a test.
a lot of times, we think that, oh, I could do without that. However, we realize that we are very dependent on our servers, our data, our emails, and the technology that we use all day, every day.
Awesome. So I know we do like third party to where we have backups, and we do have an example here. This is one of our current reporting that we have. Can you just give a little bit more into what's going on with our reporting snapshot that we have, what it shows, any examples of how this is beneficial?
Sure. So a couple of things to think about here is, I always like to prove and get proof that the backups are actually working. So if you don't get a screenshot like this from your current provider, I would encourage you to go into a folder on your server and rename it. Don't delete it, just rename it to something else. Call your service provider and say, can you restore that folder? And then once they restore the folder, verify how long did it take them, how much trouble was it to have that happen, and when they restored that, compare it to the folder that you renamed and make sure that all that data is actually there. Now, a true service provider offering business continuity is going to back up your systems throughout the day. That's what this report shows you here. It shows you that the last time it was off-site was 30 minutes ago. The last local backup was also 30 minutes ago. It shows you the last 10 backup attempts. It shows you how much capacity this has taken, and it shows you which volumes are or are not protected. We don't always protect all volumes, so every backup is going to be unique, but it's the perfect reason why you want to do a test and ask your provider to verify that they can restore the data. We recommend that you back up at least every 30 minutes. And a lot of people are like, well, I just don't need that data backed up that frequently. What we're backing up is any changes that have happened in the last 30 minutes. So it does not slow down your system, and pushing that data offsite is very small amount of data that has changed in the last 30 minutes. The benefit of having this is a few years back, we had a CPA. She had come in the office around 5 o'clock in the morning, had worked until 11, went to lunch. When she came back from lunch, her computer had crashed. When she went to open up her spreadsheet, she was not able to access it. It says that it was corrupted. She called us up. We were able to go back within 15 minutes of her leaving the office. And so all the work that she had done from 5 a.m. to 10:45 that morning was saved. She had 15 minutes of entry that she had to re-enter into that spreadsheet. And that's the beauty of having backups throughout the day, is you don't lose a whole day's worth of productivity. And that's just one employee. What if it were 10 employees, 50 employees that had to rekey that entire day? That now you're paying people overtime to recover a lot of data, and or they're way behind on their regular work because they have to rekey data that is missing if you only back up once a day.
Wow. So there are companies that think that just backing up one time a day it would benefit them because they think that the computers would slow down during this backup process.
That is correct, but that's a false assumption. The backups that were the changes that are made every 30 minutes throughout the day are very minimal as far as bytes of data. And to copy that over to the system it does not take any bandwidth at all. It doesn't slow down the internet, and you would think that it would, but it doesn't. And so it's better to back up throughout the day. I'm not going to say don't back up every single day, because if you have a backup in place and it backs up every day, that's great to have, but it's better if we can back up throughout the day as well.
Awesome. So I know we have a couple key questions here that we think people should ask, you should ask. And first question is, what is your current policy for backing up that data? What do you have any insights on what people should be thinking about with their current policy for backing up their data?
Yeah, they need to back up any data that is business dependent. And think about it from this standpoint. We have set up in the past, there's what's called volumes on servers. And so the volume can be a separate drive letter that's on the system. And let's say that you're an accounting firm and you scan every client's records and information into your systems, and then you port that information from that scan folder into your accounting software. Well, what's happening is you're making a duplicate of that client's data, which is doubling the size of storage that you have. So in one case scenario, we were able to partition off a separate volume on the server. We scanned the documents over to that volume, and then they moved the data from there into the accounting program. We did not back up that spare volume, and we knew that we always wanted to delete the data in there at the end of each day, because it was scans that were coming into the system and then they were going to be used for tax return purposes. With that being said, we were able to save them on storage data and offsite storage data as well, because we don't need two copies of that information. And so we want to get very strategic in looking at what it is that we need to back up on your systems, and is that data important? We've had people that were syncing their iPhones or their songs, their music, over to the desktop, which then synced to the server. And that was causing them to really eat a lot of data. And when I say eat data, I mean it was chewing away at a lot of the storage space that they had, and it was costing them money on the offsite data storage. So by unchecking the box to sync that music folder, we were able to save them a couple of terabytes of data storage, so that
Wow.
it their bill at the end of the day. So you want to have policies and procedures to make sure that you are protecting the business data that's critical, and then not protecting business the data that's not critical to running the business day in and day out.
All right. And the next question we have is, how often is the data being backed up? So do you recommend people, like the companies, going to their current, whoever does their current backup, and asking them like how long or how often they're backing up the data? Should they put that to test?
They should back up. My recommendation is at least every 30 minutes throughout the day. And that's weekdays. If you are working on weekends, then you would want to go ahead and implement that policy for weekends as well. We want to make sure that that data is being backed up. So you could go and rename a folder and ask them when's the last time that it was a snapshot of that folder, so that they can restore that. You don't have to tell them that this is a test, but you can if you want to.
Mhm.
But it does tell you what your recovery time is to contact them, open a ticket, get an engineer logged in, and someone to restore that data. It gives you a good test so that in the event that you should need data in the future, of how frequently they can get to it, how quick it's going to be, and what that recovery time looks like.
Right. And I know my next question is how long does it take to recover data? But you kind of already said it, to just test it.
Test it.
Test it and then see how accurate it is. Great. And then we do have one last question, which is how much is your business losing each hour it is down? Because it's going to vary business to business, correct? And no matter how small or big.
Yes, and you have to look at it from the standpoint of what data is on the server, what applications are on the server, what are the employees able to do or not do in the instance that that server is not available. What we're seeing today is some line of business applications are going into the cloud. So you may be using QuickBooks Online, you may be using another software, maybe it's your service management software that's online. And if that server goes down, then the business critical piece is not affected as much. So your cost per hour may be reduced by having that offsite in the cloud. But if everything is running on premise, on your servers, in your infrastructure, which a lot of companies still like to have that server in their office because they feel more comfortable with their data residing there, even though in the cloud environment, it's just as safe as long as you're putting the protective measures in there. Then having that server on site could actually cost you more per hour of downtime when that system goes offline. So I would always look at a couple of different things. Is there an online version of the software we're using? What is the cost to move everything online and use that? Are they backing up that data? If they are using that, now you're worried about your internet going down, then I would look at having a secondary internet so that you could fail over to that in the event that your primary internet went down. So it's business continuity. And then the other thing you could look at is your building equipped with a generator? Because we're talking about business continuity. Some people, they don't have a generator, but some people do. And you can have specific plugs inside your organization that are running that. So you want your network closet to be on that generator so that if the power goes out, the generator kicks on, your router comes back online or stays online, your servers stay online, and you can access those systems from, say, a laptop running off of a battery.
Okay. So it just depends on what they currently have in their status and what they want to maybe possibly do in the future, whether it be backup internet or having that generator going through.
It is. Yeah, very much so.
All right. So now if we have any questions, I can look to see if we have any through.
I don't see anything on the Q&A,
I do not either.
but I will say, if you go on to the next slide, we do have a call to action here. It's a special offer that we're offering, and it is looking at that complete disaster recovery assessment. And looking at that, we'll have an engineer come on site, look at how you're currently backing systems up. Can you restore from it? Is it the most efficient way? Is the data being replicated to the cloud? Is it accessible in the cloud from a virtual standpoint, or are we going to have to take days, hours to days to pull that information off the internet? We can look at, does there need to be redundancy? And we can also look at the importance of each server. In some cases, businesses have anywhere from 3 to 20 servers, depending on the size of the business. And what we want to look at in this assessment is which servers are business critical. You may have 15 servers, but only 2 of them are business critical. Those are the ones that we need to focus on making sure that we can get back up and running in a very timely manner. So we're talking about business continuity. The others can do business disaster recovery. So if we lose something that is older media, historical data, things that we don't access every day, maybe it's movie files, maybe it's, whatever your industry may be, there may be archives of drawings and things that need to be kept so that you can use them in the future. But that information doesn't have to be recoverable in a 20 to 30-minute time period. So we want to build out that recovery time frame for each server that you have, each application that you're using, and see really what is the recovery time objective of each of these services that we need to gain access to in the event of a disaster. The disaster being the building goes completely away, or just the internet goes out, or we just have a power outage. Maybe it's from a snowstorm or something else in our area. Those are different aspects that we will look at in this recovery assessment that we're offering. And this is 100% complimentary. We highly encourage you, no matter who you have backing up your systems, that you test and verify. It's always good to trust, but test and verify that they can actually recover the data before it's required that you need that data recovered.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Charles. I know I definitely learned a lot just from you talking, all your expertise, your years of experience, because you know, you only have a few more years of experience than I do.
Yeah,
Not
I've
too
been through the
many.
school of hard knocks too. So I've learned the hard way on some things. And I've learned that it is best to test. They say trust, but verify. And those are key things there to make sure that you have access to the information before you need access to that information.
Kind of like insurance. You'd rather have it just in case of an accident, but if you don't have it and you need it, gonna cost a pretty penny.
Yeah, it's better to be prepared for a situation and not have one than to have a situation and not be prepared.
Yep.
Last word, right?
Yep. Word from the wise.
All right. Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you, Charles. Bye.
Bye.